Okay, so get this, you guys. Donald Trump Jr. recently took a trip up to Greenland.
Greenland.
Yeah, and it kind of has us scratching our heads a bit. I mean, remember when his dad, tried to buy Greenland back in 2019?
Oh, yeah.
It kind of makes you wonder, what was Junior doing up there?
Yeah. Didn't go over so well back then.
No, not at all.
Uh,
So what do we know about this trip?
Well, let's see. We know that Don Jr.'s plane Trump Force One obviously touched down in Nuuk, which is the capital of Greenland.
Right.
And on board with him was Sergio Gore, who's a pretty big Trump ally.
Oh, yeah, Gore.
Yeah, he's actually about to head up the White House personnel office, big deal.
Oh, wow.
And there's this video floating around where he's like stepping off the plane and you can hear him saying, the whole town's gonna be there. Like they're expecting this massive welcome.
Oh, really?
You can feel the anticipation,
Right.
But then you see the footage of them actually arriving and it's a little underwhelming to say the least. Instead of a huge crowd, you see maybe a handful of fans, a few people stopping to take pictures of the plane landing. And there's 20 people just kind of milling around inside the terminal.
So not exactly the red carpet rollout.
Not quite.
And to be fair, Nuuk isn't a huge city, right?
No.
I mean, it's the capital, but...
Less than 20,000 people.
Right. So even a small crowd would be noticeable.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this whole thing so interesting. It's this contrast between the expected fanfare and the reality on the ground.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what was the point of the trick.
Right. So while Don Jr. did get a little bit of fanfare from some folks, let's just say the official reception wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy.
What do you mean?
Well, Greenlandic officials actually declined to meet with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's important to remember that this was a personal trip, not an official one. And let's be honest, considering how strongly both Greenland and Denmark rejected Trump Sr.'s whole buying Greenland idea a few years ago, it's not that surprising that they weren't exactly eager to welcome his son with open arms.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If someone tried to buy your house out from under you, would you be rushing to have dinner with their kid a few years later?
Probably not.
Probably not.
So we've got this weird situation where Don Jr.'s there, and he's got a little bit of a crowd, but the government's not really paying him any attention.
It's strange, right?
And then on top of that, we have all these conflicting reports about what the trip was actually for.
Yeah, some local news outlets mentioned that there are several Maggie A supporters who showed up to greet him at the airport.
Okay, so maybe a political angle?
Maybe, but then you have another source claiming that the whole trip was just for fun video content for podcasting.
Fun video content. So was this just like a family vacation or something?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you think, what was the real motivation here? Was Don Jr. genuinely trying to connect with the people of Greenland?
Trying to understand their perspective.
Or was this just a publicity stunt?
Yeah.
A way to boost his personal brand?
Or maybe even lay the groundwork for something bigger down the road. It's hard to say for sure.
This whole thing's been really interesting. I have to admit, I didn't realize there was so much history between the U.S. and Greenland.
Oh, yeah, it goes way back. You've got the whole World War II connection with the Thule Air Base, which the U.S. still operates up there.
Right.
And then you've got all the strategic implications of Greenland's location, smack dab in the middle of the Arctic.
So even if Don Jr.'s visit was just a personal thing, it still raises all these questions about U.S. interests in the region.
Exactly. I mean, it could be a signal that they're still interested in Greenland and maybe even trying to smooth things over after the whole purchase debacle.
And after all this, I guess the biggest question we're left with is, did Don Jr. really want to connect with Greenlanders? Or was this trip more about image and his own personal brand?
It really is a head-scratcher. There are so many different angles to consider: the historical stuff, the geopolitical factors, even the personal dynamics.
It's not just a simple trip to Greenland, is it?
Not at all. There are so many layers to this onion, and honestly, it makes you think about the bigger picture of U.S.-Greenland relations and what that might look like moving forward. Definitely something worth keeping an eye on.
For sure. Well, thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
Anytime.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface here.
We have a lot more to uncover.
And I bet there are even more twists and turns to come in this story.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
So until next time, stay curious.
And keep digging.
No way.